This is Dan Plays Kerbal Space, and last time I left off, I had just completed my Fly by the Moon mission, and I was rather surprised to find my next major mission was going to be explore Kerbin more and not explore the moon more. So that's just fine. We can do a rendezvous of two vessels in orbit of Kerbin. In fact, I have some rescue missions right here that I can use to rendezvous with these vessels. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this. And I'm also going to go ahead and accept these two rescue missions. And that's all I'm going to start with for now. I'm going to check out the tracking station and see. Alright, these two folks. It's gonna be, not a great time to be. I'm gonna launch from the desert launch pad. I think that's gonna be a decent idea. So, if I want to create a recovery vessel, I'm gonna want more crew capacity. It's one of the main things I'm going to want. I still have 90. You know what? I really do want to have this for some kind of permanence with relays. I'm definitely going to need it long term. Although I'm just going to save my science. This is nonsense. Let's start over. Alright, this is going to be, what is this? This is going to be dinghy. Rescue dinghy. We'll need some flight controls. We'll want some fuel. Oh, and very, very importantly, we're going to want more crew capacity, because we are going to want to save 2 people, and this gives me space for 2 people. Crew capacity 2. I'm also going to want to make sure that I've got some radio antennas. I'm going to put those here. Definitely gonna want some nice big parachutes. And while I'm up here, I'm going to want to deploy a couple of extra relay satellites, because I've been having a whole lot of issues with communications. And that's been a big annoying problem. So I'm going to attach 3 radial vessels. They'll have crew capacity, but I'm not going to put anyone in them. Most importantly, they're going to have relay antennas, something I haven't really made use of yet, but definitely need. I'm gonna orient these. That's not the worst. We can do that. That's okay. Also gonna want a regular antenna. These are not going to go very far, they're not going to go very high, but boy, do they need battery power. Lots and lots of batteries. Because these don't have solar panels, they're a temporary relay. Once they run low on battery, I'll deorbit them and decommission them. But they will help for a short period of time to help bounce the signals around the planet. They will be recoverable, but I'm not going to do anything particularly. I'll give them a parachute just in case we feel like using them as a rescue vessel, or feel like recovering them. This is doing okay. I'm gonna want some more. So my upper stage rocket doesn't need much delta V at all. It just needs to be able to help with maneuvers. What's going to be real important is its stage just below that. The orbital injection stage is going to be real important. We need to have a good swivel rocket there. So this rocket might have some altitude. Yeah, and as long as it's got a above 1 thrust weight ratio, it'll be fine. Up in vacuum, it'll have plenty of thrust. That 500 is it's pretty low, so we're just gonna have to 600-ish. It is going to have to get us just our last little circularization. So we're going to need a whole lot more rockets to get this most of the way into orbit. Let's add those. Sure. And then I'm going to use Reliant rockets. These are a little bit less heavy. I don't need really anything on top of that. And so this gives me 1,000 delta V roughly, and plenty of thrust. Oh, that's more than enough. I could even add on some fuel capacity. Yeah, that'll fit. That'll be fine. I guess it's okay. Yeah. That's still 3. That's still great. It's not very aerodynamic. That's for sure. But that will get us about halfway into orbit. And then let's start looking at some solid rocket boosters in our lower stages. Doop. Doop. Alright, those solid rocket boosters at, yeah, 1.4. It won't hurt to throw in this extra one to get 1.6. Delta V, and then we'll get to just eject all of those at the same time. Engage these guys, then blast those off and engage that center one. Only 800, oof. And then, so 800 meters per second plus at least 17. 25-ish hundred, that doesn't get me enough of the way into orbit, and that's not great. I hate to say it, but let's just forget about these relays for now. let's see what that does for us. Great, let's replace that with some more upper stage fuel. Okay, so we've got a great thrust to weight ratio in our first stage, all solid rocket boosters. Let's add some fins to keep it, you know, the rocket end pointed in the right direction. That gets us a lot of the way into orbit. That should be fine. Just tweaking my respective fuel amounts.
James is here.
Hi, love.
Hi.
We have a visitor. I think this will do. Our crew. So Valentina is still on her other mission. I do want to pilot. I guess we'll give Jeb this job. This should get us into orbit. Well, there's only one way to try it. We're going to want to save this, and then I actually want to launch this at the desert. Oh, grr. I'm gonna want more batteries on my center stage. Let me return to assembly. I also wanted to launch that off of the desert launch site for reasons and things. I really don't like these finite electricity missions, but they are what they are. Worst case scenario, it's not a bad idea to include a separator and the ability to, spit out this as just a recovery stage. So, I think this will do just fine. Oh, let's, because why not add a little bit of science here. Just the ability to collect some science and transmit it. Excuse me. Alright, here goes nothing. I don't really like to do much of a gravity turn. Yeah, because I end up tumbling like that. That's not good. And Jebediah is not a particularly experienced pilot, so he can't actually point towards anything, which is not very helpful. So I have to do a whole lot of this by hand. You know, I have a joystick I should really be attached to this and use. It's a lot of fun. I've done it before. Oh wow, we've got some atmosphere. Well, we're just about ready to escape the atmosphere. This will certainly get me out. Let's pause this for a second. I've got about a minute till my apoapsis. If I were to burn there, it would be a long time. Yeah, no, I need to keep burning. But I can burn much more flat. So I'm pointed closer towards the horizon, so I'm stretching out my orbit farther rather than raising my apoapsis particularly much. And there goes that stage. Let's pop it off and get this upper stage, my last stage, engaged. I've got only about 900 delta V. If I burned at my apoapsis, it would take me probably quite a while. take me 2 minutes. The node is in 1.5 minutes. So I'll wait a second. Aim myself a little bit pointed more. Towards the ground. And this is actually going to work out just fine. I'll still have about 300 delta V once I get into orbit. And these vessels separately will each have their own fully tanked, full fuel tanks. I'll be able to pop them off and use them as relays. So let me complete and extend antenna. So eventually you get action groups, which let you deploy all sorts of these kinds of things all at once, but right now I have to click on each of them to extend them and make sure that they require complete. Just basic means that if I transmit science, it won't abort if I run out of battery. Although that doesn't really make any sense because I'm just running out of battery power and I better not run out. But anyway, because I extended these, I have better signal. Which is crazy because I guess it takes all of these relay dishes just to get a weak signal to the desert launch facility. And now I have none whatsoever. Kerbal, the main Kerbal area launch site, has a much better signal that I'll be able to pick up when I get around to that side. So right now I'm circularizing my orbit. This is my upper stage. I've got some relays attached. And they're all pointed out and ready to be deployed. I just now am in line of sight with the Kerbal Space Center. And therefore, now I have like full 100% signal. That's great. This is not great. I'm actually going to dip into the atmosphere before I circularize my orbit. Not ideal. In fact, this is so not ideal. I'm going to have to revert to vehicle launch. Oh no! All right, let's try that again. This time, let's not fall back into the atmosphere. we'll just steer around this way. And nope, we're going around again. Whee! And nope. That's better. This will be fine. So while Jebediah is flying around, we could see what he is seeing inside of the cockpit, looking at his orbital velocity and his heading. Let's tweak that. Then he can look out the window and see the sky, and look down and see Kerbal. He's flying right over the ocean between the desert biome and the main continent that Kerbal's flight launch pad is based on, this Africa-shaped continent. This more or less desert-shaped thing. We're trying to circularize our orbit here, not trying to fall too far out of whack. Jebediah is certainly very excited. All of the Kerbals are always very, very eager, very excited about whatever it is that they're doing. No matter how lethal or perilous it might be, they always have a big, happy grin on their face, very excited. So I just got this new part here that lets me move Kerbal's it lets me store more Kerbals in this vessel. I'll fit 2 more people in here, so my pilot can get into orbit, and then I'll have some people I'm rescuing from orbit. Let's yeah. Just about circularizing our orbit. We gotta get above 70,000 meters. Or 70 kilometers. And let's just point that upwards. And raise this a little bit faster. Oh, I'm currently in the atmosphere. That's why I can't get out of it. Okay, this will be fine. We'll just fix this on the other side of our orbit, because the weird thing about orbital flight mechanics is whatever you do on one side affects what happens on the other side. So, I have these 2 people, Agsby and Roddard, and I need to rescue them from their stranded orbit. So I'm going to set Agsby as my target, and then from let's see, their periapsis is right there. So I'm going to want to add a maneuver here. None of this is great. I'm just going to get into orbit and then we'll deal with it then. But the idea is, as I fly around, because they are behind me in orbit and I want to arrive at their point in orbit later, I will accelerate burn at prograde, so my orbit will get bigger and it'll take even longer for me to get around the planet. So by the time I get around, they will be much, much closer to me. And that will help with my rendezvous of 2 vessels in orbit mission, as well as saving these 2 folks from orbit. So I just need to wait till I get out of the atmosphere so I can accelerate time a whole lot faster, and then I can zip around to the other side of the planet, fix my orbit, circularize it completely, and then I can start popping off some of these relays if I feel like it. I'm also really going to want to fix my tilt. I'm rather askew compared to my target. It's going to be challenging to have enough fuel to do all of this. got a descending node of, about 6 degrees, goodness. Yeah, I would run out of fuel before I actually get a fully aligned orbit, which is no bueno. Well, I can steal some fuel from a couple of these relays. It'll be interesting. Let's see, they've got 180. Yeah, no great solutions here. Well, I have a vessel that is in orbit. I think I might just use this to launch off some of my relays. Let's see what I can't do. That does mean I'm going back to my space center, and I'm probably going to design another rescue vessel. This one without some satellites attached to it. Let's just get rid of those, get rid of that, and leave this more or less the same. Alright. Rescue Dinghy 2. This one, for crew, Gorsh, no one. Just leave you empty, I guess. I don't have anyone, any pilots left. I could hire one, but I'm going to want to leave from the regular launch pad, because it'll have better signal. And if I need to make maneuvers, I want to have the best signal possible. This is why relay satellites are going to come in handy. You really are not going to give me SAS. I don't understand why this is so... No, just... fine. Just leave it as it is. Nope, I'm tumbling. This one doesn't even have a pilot. So I have very little control over it. Although it's not like Jebediah was of much help. He was indeed able to maintain a heading at least, which this vessel cannot do at all. At least I'm going up. Do I at least? No, I'm not even close to escaping orbit. Escaping the atmosphere. That's not going to do any good. I could try to give it some better aerodynamics. That might help prevent it from tumbling so much. It's already got fins. The next step is giving it more weight and more control. But at this point, I'm just thinking I need to wait for my pilot to come back. So, back to my pilots. The moon visitor is well and good and on its way away from the moon, unfortunately. But I'll check out Rescue Dinghy. So let's just open up all of these antennas. Doop, 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 and doop. Despite that, I still have no connection. That's fine. I'm just going to keep zooming forward in time until I do. Surely I'll have some connection with the desert area. Yay, okay. So from here, I'm going to pop off one of these. First things first, I'm going to save. And then I'm going to decouple one of these. Switch to it. Yay. I have no SAS control. Oh gosh. Okay. Well, let's see how far that got us. That's not too bad, but we can do better than that. I want to use about a third of my fuel getting up into an eccentric orbit. Whoop, whoop. This is very challenging to steer because for some reason the onboard robot doesn't feel like it's smart enough to steer. Okay, that's probably about a third. And that's a nice and good and eccentric orbit. And if I were to get up there, that'll take about 45 minutes. I could very, very easily crash this back into the planet if I needed to. The point is that this is a temporary relay. It's battery powered. It will run out of power, and therefore I need to turn this on hibernation. And so I will turn hibernation on, which lowers the battery power usage to basically nothing. And I'll switch. I don't need... I can't do anything while it's in hibernation mode, which is kind of goofy. But let's just turn that back on. Switch back to my other vessel, the rescue dinghy. And my plan is to pop off these relay satellites at thirds of each other, so they'll each cover a different area, which should be helpful. That's about a third. Let's pop off one of you guys. Switch to you, and of course you can't control anything for some reason. Also, my rocket is not perfectly symmetrical because it has like a decoupling node on it. And so that's why I'm having to constantly keep readjusting and steering this poor thing. Okay, and that's about an equivalent egg-shaped eccentric orbit. And so, here, see, this is evidence right here. I'm bouncing. My signal strength is at 99%, and I do not have a direct connection. I actually am bouncing my signal through relays. I have a signal connection to first of all, to the rescue dinghy. That's right here. And then that itself is bouncing my signal off to my relay over here, and I need to rename these vessels something. Dump relay 2. Relay 2. And I'm going to switch to you and rename that. And this guy. Temp relay 1. And switching back to temp relay 2. I want to make sure that you're pointed in a direction that's not too silly. And your hibernation is on, so your battery usage is low. And then I will switch back to rescue dinghy, which is not actually going to be rescuing anyone, unfortunately. But it's launching my nifty relay network. It's a nice little side effect. Okay, so I'm going to want to launch this like here. I want to make sure that I do this before I lose signal from that guy. And I think this is my best opportunity to do that. Decouple. Doop. Oh, and now you have almost no signal, which is hilarious. Alright, that's about the same. Yeah, that's just fine. Just fine. Oh, and it looks like my I don't know what happened. anyway, this is now actually a temp relay 3, and you are another relay. No, I hit cancel. Oops. Temp relay 3. Cute little relay network. Very, very simple. Very, very easy. All of these turned off. I want to see ships. Yes, I want to see a ship. Switch to you, the rescue dinghy. And unfortunately, you're not rescuing anyone but yourself, Jebediah. But that's okay. It's still cool that we got you into orbit. Let's try to rescue you somewhere. Gosh, there's nowhere good. There's nowhere particularly great. None of this is great. Alright. Well, let's just deorbit you ASAP. $37 is just, 1,000 is just fine. I might land over some water with any hope. We'll see. It's gonna be fine. But just in case, let's make sure we quick save before we go tumbling down. It's cool though that I've got to bounce through temp relay 2 and temp relay 1. My relay network is, you know, existent. I have to bounce through a couple of different guys. Alright. Now we have just touched into the atmosphere. I'm going to point myself backwards, hopefully to avoid as much damage as possible. Oh, actually, you could totally do an EVA right now. Oh, that wasn't worth anything at all. I'm just gonna, you know, zip through the atmosphere. Yay, there's some fire. Not fire so much as just friction. That's how you know it's working. My d-orbital deceleration. Whee! The camera spins around like that sometimes. Oh. We're just spinning around. Not loving that. I would like for this vessel to stay all together, if possible. Well, this isn't too bad. My surface velocity is coming down. I don't have anything that's exploding yet. The only thing that's getting really hot is this robot unit up front, although it hasn't done me any good, so I would not miss it if it exploded, personally. Oh, there it goes. Boop. It blew up my Stay Putnik module. And some of my batteries look like they might be going next. I have decelerated quite significantly, and my rate of deceleration is quite high. Even though I'm still relatively high up in the atmosphere. So I should make a safe landing, but I might have some other ancillary parts of my vessel explode upon atmospheric re-entry. Yeah, my surface velocity is below 1 kilometer an hour. You can see the flames licking off the side of my vessel are more or less whispers of the roars they were moments ago. Still slowing down. I'm in the dark, which is unfortunate. But soon I should be able to deploy my drogue chutes. My drogue chutes, here they go, are for the upper atmosphere. They're small parachutes that let me get ready to deploy my full parachutes. And now that I've deployed all of my parachutes, there's basically very little chance that anything will go wrong. So it looks like I'll have a very high chance of recovery. My first parachutes, the drogue parachutes that I had are just engaging they're deploying fully. So they first deploy partially, and they go out like streamers, and they help slow down significantly, but not all the way. And then at a certain atmosphere or a certain pressure, they expand, they fully open up, and much more significantly reduce your velocity. And the drogue chutes and the normal parachutes each have different deployment heights. And so there you go. My parachutes are fully deployed. I am slowly drifting down to the surface. 7 meters per second isn't really that slow, all things considered. So, I might, bust some things upon landing. But I should mostly be able to survive unscathed. Certainly my crew vessels will survive this, and they might roll for a while because it looks like I'm on a mountain. But here I come. Boop, boop. Touching down. Yeah. Safe landing. Excuse me. Alright, so I have landed in the desert. That is a place that I haven't landed before, so I get to collect new science. I get to take a new surface sample. I get to collect a new EVA report. I get to check out the atmosphere, the pressure, log pressure data, and log temperature data for the desert, because it's a new biome. And I get to recover my vessel. Woo. Stay Putnik. Yes, that is the name of the little robot module. It looks a lot like Sputnik, and is certainly inspired largely after that module. That historic flight. So, I still have not rendezvoused 2 vessels in orbit, nor have I rescued these Kerbals. Let's make a better vessel and launch it. I really very much so want to use... Oh, goodness. It was... What was it called? It was the dinghy, the rescue dinghy? Rescue Dinghy 2. Here we go. Now, this vessel with a pilot should have no trouble doing what I need it to do. And I had no particular regrets about how this was designed. So let's check our crew, make sure we've got Jeb as a pilot, and go ahead and launch from the launch pad. You want to use the shower? Sure, sneak through.
Okay. He's giving the thumbs up to using the shower.
I mean, you kind of have to. And we're off. My first stage is all solid rocket boosters, just like my last design. Already picking up a tremendous amount of velocity before I am done with my first stage of solid rocket boosters. Ejecting those. I'm already almost tumbling. Now Jeb has enough training. Now he can actually aim towards prograde. Oh yeah, it's still tumbling, just because the rocket itself is, I guess, not stable enough. But I'm proud of his progress. Good for him. And because he's able to aim towards prograde, he is actively steering for me, and I'm not having to do it for him, which is very, very helpful. You can see all of these are moving around, and I'm not clicking around on my keyboard for once. Very nice, very nice. Hi.
They can't see me.
No, but I have a microphone. Burn again at prograde. Get my orbital injection up and going. Hi. Oh, there's that stage. Well, I still very much so want to tilt my orbit much, much closer to where I actually want it to be. That's a bit better. I know, back towards prograde. So, this stage... you know, I might just be able to get into orbit in this stage. That would be really nice. It's gonna be a 50-second burn, and my node is in 2 minutes. So, with that, I have almost gotten into orbit. I have a periapsis. I'm going to try and eject my stage with this still in, you know, a suborbital flight path, which probably means wasting some of this fuel. But just so that this debris will catch itself. And I'm just going to leave it there. We are going to waste a little bit of fuel, but it means that I won't have some space debris hanging out in orbit. Or at least not as much. So I'm going to eject that. And just like that, I am in a stable orbit. And quite a bit less eccentric than my prior orbit. I only have a tilt of about 2.5 degrees, my descending node over here. I'll want to add some ascending burn. This is great. I've got 2,400 delta V. I've got more than enough fuel to do all kinds of cool stuff. I'm gonna leave you in hibernation because you are not doing me any good. Turn on the lights because they don't actually use any electricity for some reason. But whatever. My relay network is working pretty well. I've got temp relay 1. Yeah, I've got a connection to this relay right here, and it's bouncing back to the surface. And I still have 26% signal, so this will help me, you know, keep connected to Kerbal, even when I'm not right in front of it, which is handy. Speaking of which, the moon visitor, I should switch to, might have some research for me. So I'm going to burn. I'm pointed. Here, let me adjust. I'm going to point straight up, and I'm going to burn so that I will match the orbital plane of my target. So as I'm burning ever so slightly, this descending node is getting less and less. I'm trying to get this to 0 as close to me as possible so that I am as well aligned with my target as possible. As this number gets closer to 0, it will stop moving towards me and will start moving away. Ooh, there it goes. And now I'm just about flat with that orbit. So what else I need to do is also adjust my relative speed. Oh, that's not going to help at all, is it? Alright, well, so I'm going to have an approach over here, I guess. And I can adjust. None of that's helping. That doesn't look awful. That doesn't look too awful at all. Okay. I can do a 23 meter per second burn, and next time I swing around the orbit, I'll align with this vessel I'm trying to track. Cool. Okay. Choices. My burn is in about 2 minutes. It's going to be a real quick one. There we go. Alright, their separation is 7, 6, 5. Nice. I'll have about 1 kilometer of separation in about 30 minutes. And then I'll want to slow down to line up with my target. And then I will have completed my rendezvous. Yay! So, I can swing around. I'm just gonna wait for that to happen. Let's just spin around. Whee! Oh dear. I'm dipped into the atmosphere for a hot second. We're just gonna pretend like this didn't happen. And we're almost back out of the atmosphere. There we go. Which, of course, never actually happened to begin with, naturally. And so, as I spin around, because my orbit's a little bit higher, it's going to take me a little bit longer to get around the same spot, and they'll get there a little bit, they'll get there at the same time, even though they are farther back. And so as I start to get real close to this spot, I can take a look for them. It should be right about there-ish. Usually you can see some crosshairs saying that, like, hey, they're right here. Oh, that's weird. Well, let's burn to match their speed. Trying to head towards the target. Should be right over there somewhere. Should actually be so close I can switch to it. Let me see if I can switch to it. Yay! I don't know why I can't see the other vessel, but here it is. Here's Agsby. Ah, and she's a pilot. That's gonna be so helpful. All right. So have I done it? I rendezvoused. Yay! Yay! Okay. So I've also saved Agsby. This is very, very weird that I can't see this target. I can't see, like, where the heck they actually are. It says I'm gonna get to them in about 30 seconds. Within 100 meters. Let's oh, there they are. Okay. Wow, that's so very small. Let's turn around. Oop. And slow this down. Alright. We have this completely and totally stationary relative to this thing. And from here, we can even see the vessel. Yay. Okay. So you're going to get out. Ba-doop. And we're going to pop you off and use your little RCS thrusters to get down here. Yay. This is an EVA, extravehicular activity. Yay! Okay, so I'm holding on to this. I'm actually going to switch back to here, and I'm going to transfer. Oh, I guess Jeb's already in here. No? No? Okay, yes, transfer. Transfer him into there, and then switch to Agsby, so that Agsby can board. Yay! And now Agsby is the pilot flying in the main crew module, and Jeb, if we want to view Jeb, he's looking in this cute little hab module that's got some a nice view. It feels a little bit like a airplane. But that's because he's looking out these windows. Whereas Agsby, oops, no, we don't want another EVA, we want a board. Then we want to view. Yep, Agsby is just looking out this one little tiny port window. behind behind her would be the door to get into that other crew module. Cool. So now I've got one more pilot than I had before. And I definitely have more than enough fuel to save this next person. But first things first, I'm going to go back to the Space Center because I completed a mission, an important mission. And I should have another important mission in my queue. Yay! Explore the moon. I want to orbit. I want to go on an orbital spacewalk, and I want to return to Kerbin from an orbit. We can totally do that. Bring Moonstone back with you. Ooh. Find a Moonstone. That is... wow. That's a big ask. I don't think I'm ready for that. But, you know, fly around the moon, orbit it, totally. I can do this one. No sweat. No sweat. So this will be like an early Apollo orbit mission. That'll be cool. In the meantime, I now have some relays. I have this moon visitor vessel that has flown by the moon. It's collected a whole bunch of science and hasn't had anywhere to send it until now. Yay. Oh, I've got a direct connection, which is even better. Even bestest. Okay. So I'm going to review the data, and I'm going to transmit this atmospheric pressure on space high. Yay. I'm going to review this data, which is temperature. I'm going to transmit that. I'm going to review my crew report. I'm going to transmit that in space high over the moon. I'm going to review my stored data, keep that, transmit that, keep that. Yay. And then all of this data I'm just going to hold on to. But that was a whole bunch of science that I just transmitted. I want you to be full screen again. Oops. Okay, so I got 170 science now. That's almost enough to get 2 of these 90 science bits. But it does mean I get to at least get that module. This isn't tremendous, but it's something. If I'm going to orbit the moon, I'm definitely going to want to leave something there. So I'm going to want something that can stay for a long time, has solar panels. I think that's going to be a big priority of mine. In terms of having like docking ports, that's really helpful. But if I'm really just orbiting the moon and returning, dropping off a nice moon relay satellite, that will eventually get decommissioned anyway, then I think that's my next most important investment, solar panels. And I think I'm probably just going to save up for something else rather than get this extra 2-person module. Especially because I have this here that lets me just add crew capacity easily, which is nice. Very nice. Okay, so my missions are explore the moon. I'm going to build my next moon explorer so that I can continue my rescue mission while that is on its way to the moon, because it'll take a day to get to the moon.
and I'll want plenty of time. I'll use that time to do some orbital maneuvers and rescue some more people from orbit.
Science data from space around Kerbal, I can totally do that easily. Let's do that real quick. Cool. So what's fun about orbital mechanics is I have a vessel that's on its way home from the moon, which I should just make some adjustments right now so that, and make sure that it enters the atmosphere exactly the way I would like it to. So 70 is the magic number. 70 kilometers is the atmospheric height, but I'm gonna want this intentionally to dip down into the below 50s, because I'm gonna want some atmospheric burnout. Oof, I've got a lot of fragile stuff. Oof. Oh, right, that's on purpose because I have a heat shield and everything. Yeah. Let's see. From here, if I use up all the rest of my fuel to just slow myself down, I will run out about there, and that's not helpful. That's not helpful enough. We'll do multiple flybys. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna need lots of atmospheric burnup. So 4790, that's a perfectly respectable height to fly by. So this next vessel I'm gonna build is probably only gonna have enough room for one person. Mostly just because I don't have a lot of people, a lot of crew. But now I finally have this, which is a much more useful crew module. And now I actually have solar panels. Yay! Cool. So we want a nice big get your butt to the moon and back in a flyby vessel. 3,000 delta V is plenty to do that. We'll want want another stage to get you up into orbit. Some radially mounted fuel tanks with some more rockets on them, because you can never have too many rockets, that's for sure. Let's just give them swivels. I need more. I need better steering anyway. So the difference between a swivel and a Reliant is they're very, very similar engines. One has better gimbal vectoring, which means that it can steer by twisting and tilting the rocket engine, whereas the Reliant can't. It just points straight in one direction and does not turn. But the Reliant has a little bit more. It weighs a little bit less, and therefore it gives a little bit more efficiency. Even at sea level, that's not bad at all. Cool. And then I'm gonna want that and that. And let's lift you up and give you some solid rocket boosters with a whole lot more fins. So, even at sea level, all these guys going off at the same time. A nice thrust weight ratio of 1. All these going off at the same time have a nice thrust weight ratio. And then that guy. All this looks pretty good. Now you're just gonna fly around the moon. Same thing as last time. I'm gonna give this upper stage rocket some landing legs, because if I feel crazy and I'm able to, it's nice to try and land on the moon. I don't expect to be able to do that, but what the heck? Dream big. If I get there and I don't, and not having landing legs is the thing that keeps me from being able to do it, I would not enjoy that. Let's give you some of those. I like to put a nice parachute on top. If we want to bring more people, which I totally can, we can just add that crew module, which is pretty nice. Hi. And adding some parachutes. I have lights now. Those are nice. Let's add some lights, because they're lightweight and handy. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. And solar panels, yes. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm gonna want to drop off a satellite in orbit. I'm gonna want it to be as lightweight as possible. And I really mean as lightweight as possible. What's you're half a, that's still pretty heavy, but whatever. We'll make do. So when you have something radially mounted, if you set the symmetry to just be 1, and then you try to attach something onto it, you can have radial symmetry on something radially mounted, which is helpful. Okay, and then the whole point of these is to be a very, very powerful relay satellite. And not, there's no such thing as very powerful this early in the game, but powerful enough to be functional is what I'm going for. I'll pop those bad boys on there. I don't like that as much. Let's try to give it better symmetry. I'm gonna take one of these. I'm gonna ask it to have 3-way symmetry. Pop it there. Oof, oof, that's not good. I don't like that. Is this the worst? Is this not the worst? That's kind of the worst. It's not great. I could just move that parachute and this would be fine. That works, right? Yeah, sure, that works just fine. And just because I'm extra, I want even more. Oh no, that's not good at all. We'll add those. We'll have a goofy little antenna relay. A little thermometer, a little pressure sensor. Let's get that closer so I can see what I'm doing. What are we stuck on top? Why not? Let's give you a parachute for some stupid reason. And then make 2 of you. There, that works. That works just fine. Put you back up there. And we're in business. Let's double check all of our stats. Oof, our thrust to weight ratio down here is dropped because something's wrong with staging. There we go. There we go. So, yep, 1.5, 800 meters per second, not too shabby. Another 12 gets me, most of the way up into orbit. And then I want only this rocket engine and those to detach. And that's another that gets me just almost. And then this is my last stage that has any and 1500 is plenty to finish circularizing and get me to the moon and do some and orbit it and get back from there. That'll be fine. You know what? Add more fuel. Add more fuel because I want to be very sure that, yeah, and my thrust is still fine at all these stages. And now I've got how much in my last stage? 2,000. That's nice. That'll be plenty. Be a big, tall, wobbly thing. And it'll be just fine. But just in case, I'll give it some thermal protection. And a abort decoupler. And you've got plenty of parachutes all over you, so I don't need to worry about those. Other than raising them up higher so they're in less stupid of a place. Power. Electricity, this sage is certainly going to want solar panels. Even though they're up there. Yeah, because why not? And because why not? Some relay antennas. We'll be fine. Alright. This is going to be the moon visit tour 2. I'm going to save, and it's going to have none of these people. maybe Bob Kerman as a scientist, but that's about it. We're going to have to wait till we get the rest of those people out of orbit. So we have a pilot who can fly this vessel. Cool. All right. How are we doing? My not-so-rescue dinghy is still orbiting. Oh, well, this is rescue dinghy too, so it is orbiting just fine. There's Roddard's Heap. Where are all of my pilots? I guess my 2 pilots are in rescue dinghy 2. Let's finish this rescue mission then, I guess. So I'll be able to use a 160 meter per second burn to accentuate my orbit so that it takes me long enough to get around to the same place as my target. That I'll show up there at the same time. This burn's going to take 18 seconds. these to get as close as possible. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Oh, that's real close. Beautiful. That's within 0.2 kilometers. 200 meters. That's great. And I want to slow that down right there. That'll be great. That's all going to be great. And I'll get there in 40 minutes. And let's just accelerate there. Whee! Oops, missed it. Oops. That stinks. Let's see what we can do from here without dipping into the atmosphere. Nothing. That just really stinks. I totally missed my target. We've got lots of fuel. I don't care. We're gonna do something really inefficient and I don't like it. We're just gonna point straight at the target and burn right towards it. It's extremely wasteful, but it technically works. Alright, so I do just need to burn retrograde so I actually encounter this thing. Huh, there it is. This will work. Just barely. It's a very inefficient way to make up for not great maneuver. Oh, another pilot. This is gonna be fun. Yay! Well, amidst many a blunder, we have finally found Roddard. Transfer you there, and let Roddard join the crew. This is now a pretty crowded vessel. We've still got plenty of fuel, despite having some silly maneuvers. And it is definitely time to go home. Oh, this is going to be perfect. I'll try and land right in there. We'll save. And then make sure we're nice in about the 30s. If 39. Just about where I want to be. So we're entering the atmosphere while it's still dark. It's actually just barely going to be light by the time we get to the very, very bottom of our atmospheric deceleration. As dark as this vessel is, it's still nice to look out the window. Oh. I don't know why I can't see the fire from the cockpit. Let's slow this down. Oh, yeah, we can totally see it through here. Wow. Oh no, I aim too low. It looks like I'm probably gonna land in the desert in the dark. Oh goodness. Oh well. I'm just going to use the last of my fuel to help slow me down. Reduce some of the stress on this vessel. Well, that's not the worst. A 0-point landing. Not bad. Not bad at all. Still in the desert. Well, that was my rescue mission. And my rendezvous. So those were the immediate goals for today. Now I have several pilots with at least 1 star. A little bit closer to being able to afford another 90 science research. So my next major mission is explore the moon, get into orbit around it, and get back from an orbit around it. So I'm not immediately interested in landing necessarily. I've got a bunch of tourists who want some real simple orbit around, curve in and get back. And yeah. I think that is gonna be it for me for today. But the next mission I'll do will be moon oriented as well as probably tourist oriented. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching the stream. Thanks, and have a good night.